Zone Anka Bayo, Popstar Bayo, Blonde Bayo, the Purple Figure, and the Multiverse have finally shown their faces in Bayonetta 3. I'll be breaking down everything, from the 4th story trailer and even some of the new details that were updated on the Japanese website. Everything will culminate into one bombshell at the end, and it starts off with so many reveals within the first 10 seconds. So a major plot point is that Viola witnesses her Cereza cracking out of existence, and eventually, to what even caught me off guard, is her Cereza, the Whittingham Bayonetta, actually dies. Oh, she's not- no, she's first. Okay, she's first. She's not dead. She's dead! What the? Which is likely because of what this being is putting her through. We finally see a physical manifestation of the Singularity, the major antagonist that we will eventually face at the end. The purple fiery figure is an absolute beauty of an antagonist. It's likely that this is the same purple figure, just in a different form or updated design from that 2017 trailer. The proof that it is the purple figure is due to the lightning techniques and having the same sound effect. So that 2017 teaser was metaphorically alluding to this scene right here. It took 5 years. But literally the name of the trailer is a beautiful nod to the multiverse. Bayonettas everywhere, which could also be a nod to the film Everything Everywhere All at Once. Very fitting since it was a film that dived into the concept of the multiverse and even had their own definition of the alphaverse. Even if it wasn't a reference, it's still a pretty cool coincidence. However, getting back on track, towards the middle of the trailer you have another figure that looks so much more similar to that purple figure. So what if these beings are merely puppets to the real man behind the curtain? But we'll follow up with that when we reach it. The music absolutely destroyed me. I can't take it, the feels. There is a nice reference to the 2021 trailer since the first words of the song is Moonlight Whisper, which was on that billboard that we saw. I don't think the purple figure slash Singularity is connected to the homunculi in any way, but I do theorize that the homunculi, including this giant face ones, are byproducts of multiple universes collapsing. You also have one of my favorite possibilities of these two being variants of each other, who were the ones who discovered the multiverse, if you want to get a little Kang the Conqueror-y. Or a fourth one, where we will talk about at the end. I'm going to correct myself from the previous breakdowns. What you are seeing here is an alternate universe before Viola gets transported, due to the Statue of Liberty holding a different flag, compared to the one that we saw near the cruise ship with Bayonetta. When you slow it down, you do see some sort of debris falling away from the green meteor, which could be Whittingham Bayonetta's ribbons, and the reason why she doesn't have a lot when she crash lands. But psych, it ends up being the environment that wasn't properly rendered. If you take a look at Whittingham Bayonetta's Umbran watch, there is a red gem engraved on it, so this basically confirms that this is not the brave Cereza that we raised and grew up, since that one had her gem knocked out by her John. I was so scared at first because I initially thought this was her dying, but I'm so glad that there might be that brave Cereza somewhere out there still in the multiverse, whom I hope will appear in the final chapters. Anyways, the newly updated version of the purple figure reminded me of the God of Darkness from Ruby due to its color and goat horns, which it could also be based off Erebus, the God of Darkness in Greek mythology. But what really caught me off guard was the feminine laughter. Which I really hope for a female antagonist for Bayonetta 3, like I said last year with Lilith. But what really got me thinking was that red light on its head, which I think could be the original manifestation of the left eye of darkness that every Bayonetta variant could possess. On another note, it also seems like this could be another being that is higher than that of Sheba and Jubileus, which I think is bloody fantastic because it really begs the question, did Aesir see this being, which is why he needed the eyes of the world to protect his universe? But then Viola and another unnamed soldier reveals Viola to be a soldier as well. Therefore, what if in this timeline Umbran witches survived the witch hunts and were modernized throughout the centuries, and in the present day they were commoditized and non-privatized by the government, which gives me such an uneasy vibe, yet cool at the same time. And it's likely that this soldier was a male Umbran witch, since Kamiya did confirm for male witches and female sages, potentially. Or again, it could just be another random soldier. Oh yeah, great news for Bayo John fans, including myself. In this alternate universe, Viola seems to react in a way that she was close to Cereza, but not motherly daughter way, but more of a mentor that was killed in battle. If she was her mom, I would think Viola would react in a even more broken way, and possibly even having her own shonen rage moment at this point in time. But so far she hasn't. The scene then cuts to the Constellation Beast, which seems to be when he arrives in our Bayonetta's universe. Moving on, it continues the fight from the release date trailer, showing us some nice gameplay on top of Bayonetta pondering what it is. Not even an angel, a demon, or even a human. But just to be clear, I theorize this beast is from Viola's universe, who somehow seeped into to our Bayonetta's one. This trailer basically funneled it to either being two people. One, it's Luca from Viola's universe, since that's what she hints when she monologues throughout the trailer. A few of you have also DM'd me about Luca being the beast within the past few weeks, and I didn't really like it at first, but it grew on me, since I'd love to see a variant of Luca that isn't purely comic relief. The second option I thought of was that this soldier was transformed into this beast by the Singularity and was sent to our universe to find Viola. That soldier could have had any hair color, but his white hair could be a hint of him being the Constellation Beast. But I came to this conclusion more so due to the situational evidence. It's the escape witness antic at the beginning of most stories or arcs that start off with a nowhere to go destroyed environment. Therefore, it could have gone like Whittingham Bayonetta dies in front of Viola, Viola possibly escapes or is transported to our universe, and the purple figure then transforms and possesses that soldier to search for where Viola left, which is our universe. It's likely while she was jumping universes, that's when our Bayonetta hears Viola's voice during the grocery shopping scene. However, I'm leaning towards Luca, who is from Viola's universe, since that is a much easier way to explain, with Luca possibly being evil or captured or possessed in her timeline. It then cuts to Bayonetta going through the building during her fight with the Constellation Beast, and oh my god, she's so fucking hot. But a dialogue from the giant head homunculi states the Arch-Eve has fallen, and this world will soon follow. Now, the best estimate I can think of is Arch-Eve is just another term for whoever wields the left eye of the world. Arch-Adam would be for the right eye of the world. Arch-Eve origin is potentially the first universe in existence. From its terminology, you can say that those users were bestowed the eyes of the world during the same time when Acer gave them up, which is like akin to being the Adam and Eve of this universe, and eventually their successors. So in saying that, I theorized that the scene we are in right now is after the events of Whittingham Bayonetta dying, since she's likely the Arch-Eve who fell in this universe. It's only theory at this point, but it looks like this is Viola's universe that they visited, and it was in the middle of being demolished. And by the way, these enemies speak coherently, unlike demons and angels, which really emphasizes and puts more detail to them being man-made. But the scene then cuts to Viola, our Luca, and our Bayonetta having met, which is likely after their homunculi fight scene, and the catalyst for Luca and Viola's adventures, which continues on the Luca adventuring with the Little One continuity trope from Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. But this lava scene was a great callback to the catacombs in chapter 3 of Bayonetta 1. Moving on, there's this beautiful desert overworld within the Egypt arc that is a nice familiarity to Nier Automata's desert environment. Then there's this really hot line from Bayonetta while she stares at us, giving us a fourth wall break.
Lesson 2. Learn to fight for others, not just for yourself.
But obviously a lesson to Viola. But more specifically, lesson 2, continuing on from John's teaching from the release date trailer. You then have this clumsy scene of Viola interacting with a crustacean, and this sand dune homunculi, which reminded me of those giant sandworms, or Hegel, as you fight as A2 in Nier Automata. It continues on as Viola tries to persuade Bayonetta in what seems to be an Egyptian environment after the sand dunes. Which, oh my god, I really hope there are references to Cleopatra and where we possibly meet that Bayonetta variant, but Viola exclaims that after beating the Singularity, there will be a cure to help quote-unquote someone or him, which I believe is hinting that Constellation Beast and likely to be Luca. However, we see Viola in a Call of Duty map. No, I'm just joking, I'm just so used to this being in Call of Duty. But Viola is in Paris, France. Shoutouts to you, Akoneta, and a happy birthday month to you. There's another perspective of Viola at the Gates of Hell holding what seems to be the Chaos Gears, and I'm loving the Acer callbacks. You see Viola finally sparring the Constellation Beast, so rest in peace to my Viola Beast theories and hello to the Luca Cheshire Beast. Leaning way more into that theory since whoever he is means a lot to her too. And I'm sorry Bayo John fans, but it looks like Luca meant a lot to our Bayonetta. But no worries, maybe he meant a lot as her best friend or companion, who knows. But just as this epic choral version of the release date song plays, we've come to the greatest reveals of the year with Popstar Bayonetta, the third Bayonetta variant introduced on the big screen, and oh my god, she looks so hot. She is likely to be the Mr. Rabbit of the Alice in Wonderland motifs, and was that woman in the background of the cover art. I managed to get the 1080p renders and I'm getting a huge KDA vibe, but she's sporting a much more casual United States Bayonetta with the short shorts, the Kamiya gaming glasses, the rabbit bow, and the gold chain or the gold bling, which is holding her Umbran watch, and of course the pink hair. Heck, even looking like a Valorant champion. She also has her mole above her lip. Her signature weapon of choice seems to be the shuriken yo-yo weapon or the Ignis Arainia Yo-Yo, roughly translated, which is followed by her ability to Demon Masquerade with Phantasmarane. But here are the other rough translations of the new weapons likely to be from other universes. You have the chainsaw named Dead End Express, the fan named Simoon, the microphone stand named Libit Libido BZ55. If you know what that means, you're a real one. And my favorite one had to be the T696, at least functionally, but it literally makes you a tank for a certain duration of time and absolutely destroys anything in your way. But you have the Malphus Masquerade, which I believe is Ankabeyo's specialty due to her weapon, but it seems like you'll be able to glide or even fly certain distances in maps where you'll need to, which is pretty awesome, and it almost even looks like a mud. The one I think that looks the coolest is the Baal Masquerade, where you essentially have a whip that also uses sound waves. And I believe this is the masquerade that looks the most like something out of Devil May Cry, which looks so epic, and I cannot wait to use this sonic boom attack. I have a feeling that this scene is happening in her universe, just like with all the other variants that we've met. I initially thought they were all mysteriously transported to our universe, but it looks like they are all separately dealing with their homunculi troubles. I hope towards the end they will be helping us defeat the Singularity after our Bayonetta probably convinces them or helps them out in their universe, which is what I took from the Zone Anka Bayonetta realizing how she should live her life. And a beautiful hot perspective of the Queen herself, followed by what I think is way too specific to not be a Captain America MCU reference, where the homunculi head refers to Bella Porchbeyo as a woman out of time, which could be due to the way she's dressed and how she leads and prepares her army. I like to think of this as a hint to this variant of Bayonetta having been in a coma just like our Bayonetta, but she was born in China. So this is likely a hint that all Bayonettas, no matter where you are in the multiverse, all Bayonettas have an absolute point of being in a coma for 500 years. But this is why I'm holding on to the Brave Cereza theory, since it'd be nice to have in the story that she was the only one who didn't go through that event, which is why the Singularity is probably trying to find her, since she could be so strong and so empowered that she is a threat to everything they are planning. It then continues from that scene from the release date trailer where John and Sigurd are actually teaming up together, where Sigurd jokingly remarks to leave the driving to John, obviously. And what do you know, that nice callback to the middle finger starting up the machine type of trope. But this time it's John. This is where it gets really good in the details. This is actually the first time since 500 years ago where Jeanne activates that yellow Umbran glyph again, similar to what she did to seal the door during Rose's death. Could it mean that her royal blood has something to do with it? Is it Lumen inspired or infused magic? Or maybe it's just a design feature. But regardless, a nice consistency with John. You then have this cute tricycle apparatus that Dr. Sigurd wheels in, likely driving to the endpoint where we will meet Bayonetta. Bal is then shown potentially forging a new contract with our Bayonetta and finally talking this time. She seems to have a lot of design upgrades with the fan crown behind her head and her peripherals. But what I really want to hear in this scene right after this line is something that references a previous witch that she knew, like let's say Rosa or Cleopatra or Eva. I think Rosa would be a great choice to reminisce, since I think that's what would compel Bal to contract with Bayonetta. Moving on, it shows Bayonetta bringing back a slight nostalgic hit of that semi first-person shooter against some lower ranked homunculi. But even more important is the dialogue, which I initially thought was our Bayonetta, but it seems to be the Zone Anka Bayonetta, who has such a beautiful design. It's my favorite one. She was the woman in the back of the box art, but seeing her golden black leggings and the golden motif of shards all over her body and her white hair flowing with that beautiful dress, she's gorgeous. But her dialogue, which I believe is even more important than the Arch-Eve dialogue, where she states,
"Now watch, Jean. I'll never bow to anyone again. Not even myself."
Made me think of a few things. Could it be that our Bayonetta is giving the empowerment that she gave Brave Cereza to all her variants? It doesn't matter what problems each of them had. It was the way they dealt with it. And our Bayonetta is figuratively opening their eyes, which may likely help them with defeating the Singularity or whoever the antagonist is. The way Ankabeyo referred to John could mean that there are also Jean variants out there that we have yet to see. But more importantly, whoever said this line,
"Not even myself,"
I theorized, what if that is a foreshadowing of a variant of Bayonetta being the Singularity? But we then get to see the Bat Infernal Demon, consisting of two separate demons offering to help Bayonetta fight Valiants, which is a nice nostalgia for Bayo 2 fans. But my next favorite entrance, we see two Bayonettas fighting it out, likely during the France arc, where we finally see the Mad Hatter from the box art. Our Bayonetta seems to be defending, likely to have been ambushed by this variant who mistook our Bayonetta for one of her enemies. She has a really hot and sexy French accent.
"Oh, that? A simple bonsoir. Just wait until I get really chatty.
But checking up on that updated website, it seems to be a wand fitting of her typical magician's getup. And now that I think about it, it's super fitting, since Umbran witches do magic. And a wand. Didn't we? Coming in number 2, a magic wand that pays homage to witches, but we finally get to see a canon blonde variant of Bayonetta. Her outfit, of course, is so epic and really has the vibe of being a phantom, like from MapleStory. But you also have the dragon motif about her outfit, the scales on her hat, the wings on her wand, and the dark blue motif similar to what Gamora has. So based on their outfits and environment, we have France, Egypt, America, and China. Bayonettas from different countries, but more so from different universes. I hope. But we then reach, likely after all their adventures, meeting the variants and whatnot, their endgame, per se, with Sigurd. By the way, it really hypes me up to think that Sigurd is so important that he has to be there at the fight, possibly supporting Bayonetta and John against the Singularity. But then you have my favorite scenery of the trailer. I theorize the Sunrise and Crescent Valley statues that we saw in the first 2 games are the second versions of the original. And these ones right here are actually the first statues that were made what I think is on the island of Thule, which got me thinking. Could it be that Umbran witches and Lumen sages, or magic in our universe, came from another alternate universe, since Thule is the intersection or the gateway to other multiverses? But again, just a small theory. But it's super cool to finally have the Lumen sages referenced again, and it's also nice to see the Umbran witch statue, which is not vandalized by a giant pin. However, they do retain these same sword designs from the ones we know. But surprisingly, they showcase the final arc, or at least where it's taking place. And I am celebrating because John is actually going to fight side by side with Bayonetta for a full duration. But you see Bayonetta holding the Chaos Gear as it glows purple, likely hinting that they've collected all that they've needed. You also have this nice little detail of John's lilies sprouting wherever she stomps or walks. It follows along with Sigurd determined and warning Bayonetta that if the Chaos Gear is damaged, they won't be able to open the portal. Now, deducing from this, I feel like this setting is merely the gateway to Singularity and what Viola was explaining earlier. So I theorize that they are finally at the center of the island of Thule, and the Singularity is in a limbo, where we will fight him in a sort of dark matter vacuum between the universes. So I'm glad they only showed us the gate and not anything beyond. Speaking of which, you see some buffed out homunculi guarding the gate, which hints to me that the Singularity and human are working together, or whatever they are. But regardless, we finally see Jean and Bayonetta fighting together finally with these blue glyphs among these stone spheroids, similar to those of what Possessed Boulder had in his office, and I'm hoping some sort of connection to Aesir. But we go back to this Egypt scene with the constellation beast, with even more hints to it being Luca, as Viola questions him to be okay and whatnot. Then you have this nice detail of Viola being startled by the sand, which leaves her vulnerable for the constellation beast to uppercut her. And oh my god, I thought she actually died at this point, but if you slow it down, she just got hit upwards. Her mistake really highlights her still being a trainee and even a child. But all in all, I really hope this is not a foreshadowing. Moving on, something really different happens where a PSA-like announcement is made, which elicited a Persona 5 vibe like to me. Slowing it down, you do see quote-unquote Jean's spy action, followed by Grey Delisle's beautiful voice acting. It's so adorable because it feels like this is happening in her geeky mind after she ziplines into the facility overrun by homunculi to find Dr. Sigurd, which then segues into this scene from the release date trailer. In the logo, you have more callbacks to Aesir's imagery. The acronym of GORC, which I'm taking an estimate here, could stand for Global Ordnance and Reconciliation Committee. I know that's a huge stretch, but I am positive the first letter stands for global. I like to think that this organization was established after Aesirolopter was killed, and possibly since there was no more active god of chaos overlooking Earth. Or again, the man behind the homunculi established this company to further research Aesir's powers, but waited for him to be killed off. Moving on, we are then greeted by a cute interface to what I think is referencing Metal Gear Solid with all the venting and whatnot, but it definitely feels like something Kamiya would implement into a game. It initially reminded me of the obvious old school slide scrolling games like Contra, and of course the green UI felt like the callback to Metal Gear's UI and color palette. You have this adorable little detail of Jean's all-for-one guns with unlimited bullets, and even the return of Garnet Roses all the way from Bayonetta 1. And another UI where Jean seems to be sporting Colonel Slade. Hopefully we'll be able to sport them again in the overworld. But then, you have the mystery of the Singularity purple figure antagonist. Realistically, I would love this to be a new character or someone who has been watching on the sidelines for so long. But it's that hint from Ankabeyo that really hit me. In Bayonetta 1, from the very beginning, we were conditioned to think that the intersection of light and dark would bring calamity onto the world. What if there is a Bayonetta variant out there who was the complete opposite of brave Cereza? A Bayonetta that couldn't take the pain of losing her mother and wasn't sealed. The darkest timeline, where that version of Cereza mastered the left eye of darkness, and her rage possessed her to destroy other successful Bayonettas out there. It sounds really childish, but That's what happens to an adult if they aren't empowered to be brave. This is just the initial overlying analysis, so click here for the next in-depth breakdown video. I'm rockin', and never get disheartened.